Ms. Fosberg, could you explain what your intent is? Is there a video that you would like to show?
Yes, there's an Al Jazeera video, and I'd just like it shown now.
Okay,
Please.
thank you. I apologize for the confusion earlier.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
And so you'll have a total of 6 minutes for that.
Thank you. I think it's 5 minutes. I think we're okay.
Thank you. Is that ready? Thank you.
Tucked in the shadows of Playa del Rey's million-dollar homes and expansive ocean views, next to one of Los Angeles' last remaining wetlands, an unwanted neighbor.
Oh my God. We were standing up in our house in the kitchen, and we just heard a very loud hissing noise and looked out and saw this enormous fireball shooting up into the air. So if you follow me out onto the balcony.
Helen Yorna lives just 3 blocks away from an underground gas storage facility. She took this video from her back deck in January 2013.
Did you know what was happening?
No, we just knew that there was a fire, and it was at the gas company.
The facility is run by SoCalGas, the same company that operates the Aliso Canyon site near Porter Ranch, ground zero for the worst gas leak in the nation. But unlike the Aliso Canyon facility, the Playa del Rey site isn't a mile from the nearest housing development. Many homes here sit directly on top of a maze of underground pipes and storage tanks. And just like Aliso Canyon, the Playa del Rey site has also been plagued with problems.
It was scary. It was hot on my balcony, so I can only imagine.
So you could feel the heat from the fire?
Yeah.
The gas company said the fire was created by an unplanned release of natural gas that ignited. It took about an hour to stop the leak, but concerns surrounding safety at the site still linger 3 years later. And residents watching the disaster unfolding in Porter Ranch say they're worried about what could happen in their backyard.
It's a concern. It's, we think about how old is the infrastructure and where are the pipes located? Where are the depots located that are storing this underground? How close are they to our homes? Also, another concern is how do we know when something's happening?
Resident and local activist Patricia McPherson says you know something's happening because you can see it.
Well, let me show you where the seep is. Right there you can see it broiling up.
So where the bubbles are coming up, you're saying that that's basically a leak?
Yes, and that's actually like an open pipeline of gas that you're seeing right there to the surface that is coming up 24/7, and it's been ongoing for years.
Do you worry that a Porter Ranch, if you will, could happen right here?
Do I worry if it would happen here? I would say similar events have already occurred. We already have health problems with people in the neighborhood here. We have had blowouts, we've had explosions, we've had fires, we have plenty of information showing leakage of their wells in the areas.
In 2000, residents filed a complaint with state regulators alleging there have been gas leaks below and above ground. After 7 years of fighting, a settlement was reached. SoCalGas agreed to monitor gas levels in the air and soil and inform residents if a leak occurs. But retired geologist Tom Williams says nothing much has changed.
Is this facility safe?
Basically, the problem is that I can't trust Southern California Gas Company. I can't trust the facilities here. Based upon my 40 years of experience in oil and gas, it's unsafe.
We wanted to ask the gas company about the residents' concerns over continuous seeps and aging infrastructure, but SoCalGas turned down our request for an on-camera interview.
In an email, SoCalGas said it is focused on Aliso Canyon near Porter Ranch, but the company maintains the Playa del Rey site is safe. We do know the gas company is now facing criminal charges for its handling of the Aliso Canyon leak, and the severity of the disaster is calling into question the safety of all underground storage facilities. After visiting the Aliso Canyon site Tuesday, U.S. Energy Secretary Ernest Moniz called for new regulations.
We really have to push on what the president put into his climate action plan in 2013, looking at and reducing dramatically methane leaks across the entire system.
These are oil field gases.
Residents and activists say reforms and new regulations may look good on paper, but there's only one way to prevent future leaks and blowouts: shut down both sites permanently.
Regulations are not going to protect us. Inherently, this industry is so dangerous, so toxic, that what we really need to do is ban these types of practices from happening in our communities and shut these dangerous facilities down.
Jennifer London, Al Jazeera, Playa del Rey, California.
Thank you. I'd just like the staff to follow up on that piece. I don't know that this is within our jurisdiction, but potentially if we could follow up outside of the commission public comment. Next, we'll have Patricia McPherson, followed by Gregory McPherson. And it looks like we're already at time. Typically, our public comment is only 30 minutes. We were off to a late start today, and so we're going to continue till 10 o'clock, but that's as far as we'll be able to go, and the remaining public comment will be after the conclusion of the regular agendized items.
Billy, if you could show the visual, please. The still of the, like this.
That's him. Okay. Okay.
Sorry, a lot of paper. Patricia, ready?
We are.
Patricia McPherson, Grassroots Coalition. I'd like to draw your attention to the diagram that you see in front of you. It's Grassroots Coalition working with Nathan Phillips from Boston using the Picaro methodology that has become famous. The area, oh God, that is just in this area is the freshwater marsh area, also known as the catch basin area, thank you, Billy, of the Ballona wetlands area. This area is of concern because it is under the purview of the Coastal Commission from the standpoint that the Coastal Commission also reviews monitoring reports that are put out by an entity that was supposed to be originally, and if you could pull up my PowerPoint, Billy, please. Originally in 1990, the Coastal Commission was engaged in litigation with the Friends of Ballona Wetlands. That settlement agreement was reached roughly 91. That included the Army Corps of Engineers, Playa Capital, Friends of Ballona, everyone got involved in it. And as a result of that, there was a court order that said you have to form what's known as the Ballona Committee was created, which rather fell apart, and they were tasked by a judge and ordered to create the Ballona Foundation. And the Ballona Foundation was to have oversight of this area that you see in the upper map, and this is Playa Vista area. This is what is known as the freshwater marsh, which is the catch basin, the flood control basin, the Playa Vista site, which is down here to the east side of that. Over here is Ballona Channel, and up above would be the ocean. There's also a riparian corridor that is a part of that goes up through this area that is also part of that system, all of which are part of the Coastal Development Permit approved, at least the first portion of it, by the CDP 5-91-463, which includes reports for how that flood control system is managing and operating through the Ballona Foundation. That foundation is on page 4 of this, actually page 2, the next one, Billy. As you can see, it was supposed to be through the State Lands Commission, Playa Capital, Friends of Ballona, and CD11, the council district. It was never formed, never formed. So it is an issue that we still have that I've raised before you before. This PowerPoint all of you have, and is that, oh, I'm sorry. Greg McPherson is ceding his time to me also. So it is important to know that this is all part of a settlement agreement that was reached with the Coastal Commission that has not had adherence, and we've asked this commission to go back and unravel all of this so that we can get some transparency and accountability for all the deviations that have occurred. Part of the problem is, you can see above you, Vector Control cited what is now known as the Ballona Conservancy, which was created only by Playa Capital in 2004. There is no state or any other approval for this organization. Vector Control, I've shown you this before, is stating up there, show us any kind of authority, you're vague, who's running this thing anyway. And this is the road that Playa Vista created that the Ballona Conservancy allowed to be created, and yet Building and Safety is now citing them for a violation because they had no permits to build the road, and also Fish and Game cited them for a stream bed violation agreement because they built in an endangered species habitat. This is all important because they also have oversight of the gas issues that are all broiling up into this marsh area. And it is not being dealt with at all. These are all items that are being left out of any of these reports. And so we want to bring your attention to that because this all has to do with the Coastal Commission's role in oversight through that. Also, there are issues that will be before you tomorrow regarding the drains issue, but if you could do that second video that I have on there. What it is the Division of Oil and Gas going out to the same area that you saw in the Al Jazeera of the gas. That is actually new, broiling up gas that wasn't there when the Al Jazeera tape was made. It wasn't there when the Division of Oil and Gas was out there getting a magnetometer to show where that wellhead is, which is University City Syndicate, that directly underlies this new seep. This is highly dangerous. This is now looking like the gusher that you saw several hundred feet to the west of this that was on the Al Jazeera tape. I cannot say how alarming this is. Grassroots Coalition has worked with the City of Los Angeles to create a new methane code for the Playa Vista site itself and the citywide code itself. So I do speak with participation with experts that are gas experts from around the world. Thank you. And we will be bringing this up before you into the future. And I have emailed all of you this PowerPoint. So if you would please look at it. We'll try and get yet another copy to you tomorrow. And it's self-explanatory in the PowerPoint. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll next have John Davis.
Honorable Chair and distinguished commissioners, I have hand-delivered this document to, pardon me, can you hear me okay? Okay, I couldn't tell. I've hand-delivered this to you because the staff of the Long Beach Commission has removed lots of pages from my submission and posted it on the website. So please read this one thoroughly. It contains all the documents the Coastal Commission Long Beach staff removed. In regard to my testimony today, I'm asking the Commission to request the Executive Director to provide a notice of opportunity for a hearing provided in Section 30812 of the Coastal Act to record a violation against the permittee and its successors for 591-463, the one Patricia McPherson just spoke about. I further request that pursuant to Section 30809, the Executive Director issue a cease and desist order to the permittee and its successors. In regard to this permit, the permittee failed to comply with the permit findings that required the applicant to place a deed restriction on the deed for the riparian corridor section of the freshwater marsh flood control system. A deed restriction was replaced on the corridor, but in 2016, 25 years after the permit was issued, the deed restriction was not placed by the permittee as required. Furthermore, the easement was placed on a residential lot. This is a flood control system, and a residential lot is not zoned for flood control. I hereby report this as fraud against the state and federal government as a violation of the CDP. The CDP required an entity named the Biono Wetlands Foundation manage the project permanently. The authorized manager consisted of the State Lands Commission, City of Los Angeles, McGuire-Thomas Partners, and Playa Vista, and the Friends of the Biono Wetlands. It never managed the project. An unauthorized entity declared to the commission it was now the manager and is fraudulently submitting reports to this coastal commission and federal agencies and disregarding the gas that you saw in boiling up in the freshwater marsh. This is a dangerous place. This is Aliso Canyon on steroids. And in addition to the threat of fire and explosion, we now add the risk of flood. The bylaws for this fraudulent entity claim that the Secretary of State of California and the City of Los Angeles appointed directors to it. This is who you're dealing with and getting reports from, and it's patently false that the Secretary of Resources and the City of Los Angeles appointed directors. It's only Playa Vista. It's their alter ego, and they're not authorized to report on this matter. Thank you very much, and we will see you tomorrow.
Thank you. We have time for one more speaker. As we mentioned previously, we've extended public comment by 30 minutes for today. The remaining public comment will take place at the conclusion of this regularly scheduled agenda items. James Garrett will be our last speaker.
I'd like to donate my time to John.
Okay. Mr. Davis?
Well, I guess I get to see you sooner than tomorrow, and I'm glad because I had some more information for you in regard to this same CDP 590. Pardon me. I will say it again. 591-463. It's old, but it's still in effect, and it's been abrogated in so many ways. This project is a flood control mitigation for Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the $8 billion Playa Vista project. The permittee failed to obtain a flood control permit prior to or after the issuance of the CDP. This commission could not authorize a flood control mitigation unless the applicant first obtained a flood control permit from the County Department of Public Works and Flood Control District. This represents fraud in that the applicant was required to obtain all the necessary permits for the flood control project prior to the CDP being issued by this commission, and now represents public endangerment and further fraud. And there are so many other frauds that I don't even have time to discuss with you that have been filed as complaints to enforcement. The flood control project, called the Freshwater Marsh System, was not completed. The Salt Marsh 50-year flood control mitigation portion was not permitted or completed, leaving only a partially completed system, which is only good for a 1-year flood event and not for a 50-year event as required by the permit. In regard to, the failure of the permittee to obtain a flood control permit must be addressed by this commission, since this commission is directly responsible for final approval of this major flood control project. All of the residents of this $8 billion project relied on this commission to ensure the flood control project was fully permitted prior to the issuance of the coastal development permit in 1991. The commission failed the public in this respect. It is now time for the commission to right this wrong and to protect the public's health and safety. If you've ever been to the Playa del Rey area and the Biono wetlands, you will see how many residents are affected by this flood control project that was never permitted by Los Angeles County. This commission, I don't understand how its staff failed to make sure that the applicant had a flood control permit from the Los Angeles County Department of Public Works Flood Control District prior to its application and prior to the approval of this permit. This must be addressed. It's not just a matter of explosions and fire. It's also a matter of protecting the people and infrastructure from flood, and it is your direct responsibility to address this, and it should be done through a cease and desist order, as I have requested prior. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Mr. Davis, if you could see our staff at the conclusion of public comment, we would appreciate that. That concludes public comment for this morning session. Again, those who would like to continue public comment will have the opportunity